Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay, on this FOMC Wednesday.
Happy FOMC day, everyone. And welcome to At the Buzzer. What a wild day it was. But here we are at the buzzer. Welcome. If it's your first time joining, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before. In this case, we are going to talk about some markets that every single one of us has traded. But our goal is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay, been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experience, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. You are all our chat, our audience. Thank you for joining us every day. Let us know how you did today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Did you stay flat today and just watch the fireworks? Shout out to the Topstep team throwing the watch party for FOMC, giving us wall-to-wall coverage of what is happening. The biggest news of the week, maybe of the month, maybe of the year. So important to cover that for sure. Hopefully everyone made it out alive with your accounts alive and didn't try to guess exactly where the market was going on that. KW says profit. Mr. Generous up 1,500 today. Blew 15 combines, Randy. Ooh. We knew someone was going to do it. If that's the truth, Randy, try to review what happened in that case. Maybe a little tilt does happen, but we want to try to slow ourselves down if that was the reality. But let's take a look at the news. Genie's Genie up 365. Could not hold on to my winner, chickened out. Hey, 365 is a nice day. 365 is a day. Someone else is wishing that they made $365. All right, let's take a look at the news. Early this morning, we did have some minor numbers. U.S. housing starts came in at 1.307 million. Forecast was 1.365 million. Building permits came in at 1.312 million. Forecast was 1.37. Bank of Canada cut their rates as well. 25 basis point cut from the Bank of Canada. And then, of course, the U.S. interest rate decision, as expected, a 25 basis point cut as well. With the Fed kind of hinting towards maybe another 50 basis point cuts before the end of the year, and potentially more cuts, another 25 basis point cut in 2026. There was one dissenter, Coach Paul. Just so happened to be the newest appointed Fed governor.
Shocked.
Yeah, shocking, of course. But one dissent, all of the other Fed governors voting that they agreed with this rate cut here. And we'll see what happens going forward. Anything you got on the news, Coach Paul, on the Fed rate decision here, what this might mean for us going forward?
Oh, no, just as expected. Sure, there will be some controversy, as we just mentioned, but that comes with the territory. Came in line with expected, and with all this volatility, we're basically unchanged on the day. So I'm glad to hear. I see some comments here. My hands are numb from sitting on them all day, letting the market come to me. Locked myself out for the day and watched. We had this discussion yesterday. Yeah, on days like today, and it wasn't just the equities, currencies. I think the currencies were even crazier. Gold was insane. So this was big news, but I mean, longer term, we really didn't do anything. We settled near unchanged. Where we go from here, I think, is open, and that's where I think the longer term volatility will come from.
Absolutely. I got a question in the chat from Jared. Did you guys take any trades today, coaches? I was at day job, so I didn't see the Topstep channels. I did. I did wait until after the number came out to take trades. Uh, I did take some trades. There was some really nice opportunity early on. We saw Dakota take a 100 point short in the Nasdaq before any of this craziness happened, which I was surprised. Should I say surprised? We did talk about the potential range during the opening call, and the Nasdaq went range to range for a pretty nice short there. Coach Paul, any trades you take today?
Oh, I took a few. Early was Rusty. Rusty had a great opening range
Yes, it
break.
did.
While the others were going down, I took a trade in the gold for short term. What else? I traded a few things, crude oil and Bitcoin.
Nice.
So I I ended up having a nice day. They weren't all winners, and it had a decent day. Now most of my money was made after the number.
Yep. Same here. Same here. And we'll talk about exactly what those executions look like and what potential trades look like. But the quote board to the downside today, we there was a point today where every asset on this quote board, every market on this quote board was. It didn't last very long. It was about a minute or two, but literally every single thing on the quote board was red. Today, to the downside, we had silver down 2.28%, platinum down 2.42%, and soybean oil, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, down 2.59%. To the upside, not a lot to pick from. We had the Nikkei up 0.27%, the Dow up 0.51%, and micro Ethereum futures, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 1.09%. To talk about our big four, we had crude oil down 0.71%, the S&P pretty much flat, down 0.09%. Gold made a new all-time high, ended the day down 0.85%, and the Nasdaq pretty close to flat as well, down a tenth of a percent. I have a Nasdaq chart up here, Coach Paul. Let's take a look because you said on the daily, where do we go from here? Yeah, hide that drawing really quick. All right, what are you seeing here, Coach Paul, on the daily in the Nasdaq?
Um, well, we had that spike. We have a possible turnaround, but
Mhm.
it's a hammer candle. Um, and but you notice what turned and stayed down was the VWAP.
Yep.
It's been connecting higher and higher. Um, I'm not calling it a low, but I've been calling a high, but it just feels like it's headed towards a bit of a correction here. The last 2 days we had the bullish, quote unquote, bullish news, and we really didn't get much out of it. Um, Tomorrow, I think, is really important. The opening half an hour. Um, if we can hold these, rip to new highs, but I mean, it's taking a shot. I mean, and what I found really interesting is we have that VWAP connecting up higher and higher through all of this until today. So beware of that. How about yourself?
Uh, today's the first day in a long time that we've taken out prior day lows, pretty much since the start of the month. Um, So it's bullish, but it did take a hit today. I'm looking at this daily candle, very similar to the daily candle that the second day of the month. Huge wick on the bottom. I'm pretty sure we got some news then as well, and we see what the market did. So we'll get to when we get down to the shorter time frame. We'll take a look at the areas that we're looking for the market to maybe respond to. Um, it's in an uptrend, but it did take a hit, right? It threw a punch back though, and buyers did step in and close us pretty much unchanged on the day. So really strong reaction. Do you call that buy the dip? If dip is 300 points, is it a dip? Uh, that's pretty big, at least on a day time frame, right? But let's take a look at the half an hour chart. We'll take a look at last night's open. Let me put these back on the chart here so we can see the sessions a little easier. All right, so last night's open. Wow, seriously?
Yeah, yeah, seriously. That's the kind of day it was.
Wow. Okay, so hopefully you guys see what we're looking at, and we'll see this in crude oil as well. I don't know which other markets did it, but we mark out this first 30-minute Globex opening range, the open for the day, pretty much. We came back, tested that open, after this really strong sell-off. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you have an unchanged day. Um, a nice area up here. Last night, of course, not the greatest price action through Asia. We did see a little bit of selling come in to the London session. But what do you see in this overnight, Coach Paul?
Nothing. Waiting for the number.
Yep.
Now with that, it did drift pretty significantly lower. Um, Lack of buyers, and that wouldn't be. I mean, we've had this big run up. It didn't surprise me to see that kind of a break. Um, but it was on low volume.
Hmm.
What was interesting was the selling on the opening this morning in the Nasdaq versus something like the Russell. So
Yeah, the Nasdaq was pretty weak. We had Nvidia down. Nvidia down was down. In the morning before the FOMC move was down about 3%, taking a hit from some China news, maybe China banning Nvidia chips. Um, so tech was a little heavier than everything else, but and that led to a pretty nice trade. You heard Dakota talk about it. He said, everyone's expecting range bound market today, but tech is down pretty big before this FOMC meeting. So it felt, and he said it himself, felt a little different than yesterday's price action, right? And we can see that pretty much from the open. Here's that red box is the opening range from the New York session. We got some urgency, Coach Paul. Uh, VWAP left
yes,
that range pretty quick, and 140 points to the downside. Again, we say it a lot. You have to set expectations for what you expect from the market, but sometimes it's going to surprise you. This move surprised me. I was not expecting this.
um, not of that velocity. Um, Now, I mean, looking back, I can say, well, some profit taking before this decision. But if this decision, I'm gonna just want to help me out through this.
Yeah,
This decision was what was it, 99% certain it was a quarter?
it was like 94% because there was 6% of people who said 50 basis points. So yeah, pretty much a 99, 100, pretty much
So
100%
it's close to certain
as
as
you can get.
as you can get. Now, so what so we know that almost certain coming into us, what good did it knowing that number? So it's really, in my experience, it's just nervousness, and that's why I think that right off the bat, you had some profit taking by larger entities, um, and they really didn't get back in because look at where we rallied, we broke hard, we rallied back right back to that opening range, which that's why tomorrow I'm gonna see a big money comes back in because I we we talked yesterday. We didn't mention that this can happen. Why? Market makers, are put their hands down. They're not going to get in front of insanity, and why would they? Wouldn't be in business if they did. So they pare down their size, and we got this emotional whipsaw action. Now, with that said, that's why I go tomorrow's opening. I think is key because now what are we waiting for? What's the talk? What's the next big number?
We got jobless claims tomorrow. We know the Chair Powell did speak about the labor market and saying it cannot cool any further. So we will see, right? There's always something. There's always a headline. There's always some type of data. Tomorrow, jobless claims. I think the labor market has been taking kind of center stage for some of these bigger numbers. And tomorrow we get another one. So jobs,
Jobs.
looking at
That's going to
jobs.
be the next. Yeah. So going forward, let's say you didn't do anything, like some people sat on their hands, and because you didn't want to get caught in this, you made a good decision. Because even if you look at, well, I mean, it was tough trading. You
Mhm.
you needed to be quick. If you were stubborn or you fought it, these are days where we see people blow out. So that's
Absolutely.
what I think tomorrow we'll see. I think it's a really important day.
I agree with you there, Coach Paul. We talked yesterday about maybe letting the dust settle a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about what my trade was. I'm only going to ever suggest doing something like this on, on a day like today where we have the volatility and not with a whole lot of size because I understand how that can be extremely risky. Um, but looking at a shorter time frame chart, and this is probably the only time you guys have heard me say this on this show ever. So it had to make sense for today. Uh, Looking for flow once the number comes out and identifying a setup. And if I start my day from this FOMC print, right? Let's consider that the opening range. We got a J trade at the low, and this is a 30-second chart. Now I go down to a shorter time frame chart in this case because uh, there's a lot more volatility in these markets. But on this 30-second chart, Coach Paul, we close above, and this is where I'm starting to get long. Right? Because we have all this selling. I don't know that this is going to happen. Um, we have the newsprint here. And when we get down here and we have that, 3,000 contracts traded in a 30-second period and we close above it, the markets are fractal. You hear people say that all the time. This is the long that I took today in the Nasdaq. Now, uh, some people may say, hey, that's crazy trading a 30-second chart. Uh, these moves have to be quick, right? And I'm not looking for a trade that I'm going to hold on for the rest of the day. This is not an investment. This is literally taking advantage of volatility and momentum, but doing so in a place that it makes sense and not just buying because I want to buy or selling because I want to sell, right? I missed, you can, quote unquote missed a 230 point move to the downside. But if I don't have a setup to take this trade, and there are some, but I was being more patient than normal. If I don't have a setup to take this trade, this move is not for me. But I can wait, I can be patient and catch this trade. And now we got 100 points or however big this move was, 130 points back to where? Scene of the crime. The first 30 seconds of the sprint. If you really wanted to, turn around and hit the reverse button, right? We see that rejection up there. you know, that's up to you to decide as a trader. But the situation is what it is, but we have to have setups in order to execute them. And that's what it was for me today. Uh, and, you know, we say it all the time, Coach Ball, let the dust settle. And in this case, I waited 15 minutes before taking a trade because I needed a clear setup.
Well, I like what you said. It's fractal. The markets are fractal. It could be a half-hour chart, 5-minute chart. But the trade you were looking for, which is a selling exhaustion, J trade,
Yep.
came. Now, the shorter term you go, the less risk there is, less reward. But that too is relative. You'll have more trades. But this one, it's interesting. What's the ATR on that? At
On the 30-second, 26 points.
26 points on a 30-second. That's 400, almost $500 on a mini. Now, so 20, can you get 2 to 1?
Yes.
Okay. That's why I bring that up. That's yeah, 2 to 1 in about 4 minutes. All right. Now, great trade.
Thanks.
Done.
Thanks. That's it, right? And at that point, I was like, okay, I think I took one more trade and it just locked it up, because I don't need to continue to force it if the market is going to present quick profits to you. And again, I probably could have continued to trade this, but once I started, and now here's where I think account management is important, right? I take that trade, make some pretty good profits on the Coach Paul, and then I think, and it's okay to continue to trade if you think you see another high quality setup. I thought I saw one, and then I lost that trade and immediately had to go to account management. I have decent profits on the day, and I just gave some of it back. So I don't care if another setup presents itself. I have to secure the profits that I made for the day. So using that, and you can see it when I switch my charts. It shows that hey, you hit your personal daily loss limit. That personal daily loss limit was a trailing realized balance loss limit, right? So using the features on TopstepX to say, hey, go ahead, continue to trade if you think you see a setup, but if you give back X amount of dollars, liquidate and block, you're done for the day. Because making that, making what is this, 100 points or whatever it is in 5 minutes can, depending on the trader, can cause some euphoria feeling where then you feel like you can't do anything wrong. But as quickly as somebody made 100 points, somebody lost 100 points. So just keeping that all in perspective. But really nice moves here in the Nasdaq today. Anything else you want to
Well, let's look at the
talk about the
30
equities?
minute and see where we end up.
Uh-oh. There we go. Hold on one second, because I did draw out that FOMC range. There we go. There's my candle.
All right. So I'm gonna look at the 30, the 200 on the half hour. And we played with that all day long.
Yep.
But we closed above it. We have a half hour, we have a J trade. Um, did we close above? Yeah, we closed above that. Um,
Came back and tested the high perfectly.
yeah, it's kind of friendly. Um, so once again, tomorrow's opening to me is important. But look at how we played with that, and we had that early breakout.
Yep.
Which I found really because as much as that went down, the Russell stayed steady to up until the number. So we look at the opening 3 minutes,
From the number or New York session
New York session.
in the Russell. We go. Yeah, that was a.
Yeah,
It was up
Taylor.
until Powell started speaking. It looked like because even after the number, we continued to rally.
Yeah, it was a matter of fact. I was on that, and I was short the Nasdaq, and then I got spooked out. I just got out with a
Yeah.
small loss. Turned out to be it was a 2-to-1 winner, but I didn't follow my rules. Because I was, how can these two continue to do that? Well, it did. Each one is different. And that
Russell was up.
Russell,
Was up almost two
yeah,
and a half percent at the high of that move.
yeah.
Ugh, wow.
It was a completely different market than Nasdaq or S&P. So it was great trade. It make my day.
God First Financial says, coaches, can you explain what a J trade is? Absolutely. And there was another pretty important comment here from Edgy. Now, imagine if at least half the folks here watching left a like. Imagine that. What a world that could be. Uh, let's talk about the J trade. So, what we are looking for, God First Financial, is volume exhaustion. So, depending on the time frame that you're looking at, I'm usually looking at it on a 3 minute chart. We're looking for high volume into an extreme of the day. So that's either to the upside or the downside. And then for a candle close, and then taking the trade in the opposite direction. I'm going to show you this because the clearest example I have today was on the 30-second chart. Now, I don't suggest using the 30-second chart all the time. Like I said, I'm going to usually find it on the 3 minute. Coach Paul even looks for these on the 30 minute. Coach Paul, if you have another example of one on a higher time frame, let me know. But here it is, right? So if we're assuming that nothing happened before FOMC, right, and that's just going with the assumption, then this would be the low of the day. Now, it's also the highest volume candle that we can see on this 30-second chart, and we closed above it. The idea is once we get this close above, and that close is extremely important because high volume doesn't always mean reversal. Uh, we have a close above. The idea is to go long on that close, risk below the low of the candle. In this case, it was about a little more than 50 points of risk, and looking for a 2-to-1 trade from that point. Now, 50 points might sound like a lot in the Nasdaq, but that's why we can trade micros. 50 points with a mini can get pretty expensive. It's $1,000. But that would be that J trade there.
And the idea is the volume.
Yep.
That's where, in that time frame, the selling climaxed. The last seller is another word for it. And once you start, it might take you a couple weeks to really see it. I know it took me, but once you see it, you can never unsee it. It's there.
Yeah.
It sticks out. So that was a great example. And it could come from the buy side too. And it
Here's one here. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
All right. It depends on, now you just can't go out seeking them. You have to be consistent in your time frame to really notice it. So what time frame is this?
So
3 minutes?
this is the 3 minute, yeah, and it just so happens that the J trade happened on the news candle. It wasn't really the high of the day, but again, once we closed below that, it was a pretty nice trade. This could be your trade, right? Where everyone's trying to figure out, oh, what's the Fed going to do? Craziness for 6 minutes. Patience, wait 9 minutes, and we close below. And then there's a clear direction about where the market's going. Now, everything we say here is for educational purposes only, not trade or investment advice. And this is a hell of a lot of risk here on this trade. You don't even get a 2-to-1. But waiting for the market and not trying to catch high and lows of the move can be a really good tool as a trader, a really good way to execute. Because Coach Paul, who's the person that knows where the high or the low of the market is?
I don't know. I've never met them. I know I've met a lot of people who think they know.
Oh yeah.
And you know when you know? At the end of the day.
Yep.
So it's a great point. One of my mentor told me is quit trying to buy low and sell high.
Yeah.
Now, when I first heard that, I'm like, I'm a polite person, so I won't say what I was thinking. And actually, I didn't understand what he meant. When you have that, you could sell the high 10 times today. The only problem is you get stopped out on a newer high.
Yep.
But getting in the flow, finding a consistent trade. In this case, it's looking for the last seller or last buyer or exhaustion. Because you can get anchored into assuming something's a high or a low. And I know I did that for a couple of years. But
So there's a comment here, Coach Paul, kind of on this trade. Volume spikes are hard to catch. By the time you notice, the show is already over. I think for you learn in the chat, and I think that's a new name. I'm not sure if you've commented here before, but sometimes I realize when we get new names, the idea is you don't want to catch the volume spike. You want to catch the wave after the volume spike.
right.
Our job is to we gotta, if we understand who we are in the markets, we're the smallest market participant that for most of us, right? We might have some market makers listening in here, but for the most of us, we're little fish, right? So we live in the wake of bigger waves. So my job is not to try to figure out when this happens. My job is to see it and then say, hey, everyone's going the other way. Let me swim behind them instead of in front of the shark. Now, what happens is when you try to, and this is a 30-second chart, but you can use this on any time frame. If I try to assume, hey, that's high volume, let me trade the reversal, what happens? Sometimes high volume is meant for continuation. So context matters. That's why we say with this J trade, it's ideal that it happens at an extreme of the day. So if this one happened here, if this was the highest volume of the day right here, I probably wouldn't consider it for that trade because this is in an area where the market has already traded before. This is probably a better candidate for continuation than anything because of where we are. Now we get continuation here. Okay, this is going to be the reversal, right? I want you to notice what happens with each one of these candles where, again, I said I missed this whole 220-point move to the downside, but still was able to catch about 100 points on the Nasdaq. None of these candles close above the high. Even this one here, we get high volume, right? This is now the highest volume outside. If this is our open, if we're looking at FOMC, this is our open, right? Highest volume. Okay, yeah, this is going to be the one. I'm anticipating it. This is where we start to feel that adrenaline as a trader, like, oh man, I'm going to catch this big trade. But it never closed above. Sometimes high volume means continuation. Now, if you identify that flow as continuation, then you can get into this trade to the downside, right? And jump in that flow. But if you're not, if you're late to it and then you start to look for that reversal, you really do have to wait for that candle close because each one of these were pretty high volume. And each one of them were also 25-point losses before we actually got confirmation. Once we got confirmation, completely different story. So the show is just beginning when you see that high volume, but you got to be patient enough to wait for it, right? Sometimes, to be honest, here's this one, right? We talked about the one to the short side. It took 9 minutes for this trade to trigger. Now, if I feel like, oh man, I missed it, and I start to look for something else, Coach Paul, there's a phrase we used to use when we were teaching our basketball players how to cut in the lane, and it's stay in the window.
Oh, I like that. I haven't never used that.
Right. So if you backdoor cut and you feel like your teammate doesn't see you, what does a player usually do? They get frustrated. It's like, oh, he didn't see me, right? And they leave the play. But if your teammate didn't see you, there's a high probability that the defense didn't see you either, right? So stay in that window and give your teammate the opportunity to see you on that cut, maybe, right? Now, in this case, if I feel like I missed the trade, I might go looking in a different window. Stay in the window long enough for the trade to invalidate. And in this case, it took 9 minutes. Window still open, and now that's my trade. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
Well, well, I actually, in another, we talk about flow. One of these things is the flow. Flow of what? Flow of buyers and sellers.
yep,
And to measure that, we can do a price or volume. But using volume here, I just want to imagine we have the big news, and I'm taking this from the perspective of it being on the floor. So we frame that out, and now on the way down here, before we got here, what happened after that high was made? Some entity came in and was selling it, and the market. So we use this example. I'm the seller. Coach Jay's the buyer. Coach Jay, well, what do you got? And he said, I'm going to sell you 100.
yep,
And Coach Jay turns around and looks to sell it, and I go, I'll sell another 100. And he can't get out of it, so he has to get out of his. If he's
right.
a market maker, and go, hey, no, I'm going to bid lower, and I keep selling it.
I only wanted 100, and Coach Paul's selling 1,000.
And the more I sell, the more he's stuck.
Yep,
There was an old term on the floor is when you find someone who's stuck, and you can tell they're stuck.
yep,
You just go, oh, that's great. Stay stuck. Because of the long, while you're stuck, the market's going to keep moving. Some entity. So think of volume. I keep selling. He's like, you, and he keeps trying to find someone to sell it to, and all of a sudden I stop, and the market stops going down. So that's an opportunity.
mhm,
So, and then another way to say this, what Coach Jay says is, don't swim in front of the shark.
yep.
And right here, just on a price basis, you say, well, it's cheaper. I could buy lower. But really, in determining when that selling stops is a really valuable information. And then there's the shark. All right. So I hope that helps on that explanation.
There we go. Uh, all right, good stuff. Let's take a look at gold. Take a look at gold. The gold was an insane move today. Uh,
It was
take a look
funky.
first at the. Let's take a look at the daily. Let's candle out of here. All right, what are we seeing on the daily in gold, Coach Paul? We made a new all-time high today.
Made it new all-time high, and we had a heavy volume of selling. Um, so it's still. Are we going to go into a sideways movement? Well, it's beginning to look like it. Um, but that was a weak all-time high. We're still in the middle of this range, even after making the all-time high. Seems like some profit taking. I'm not looking to, I'm looking to buy it still, but yeah, it's going sideways now.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. A pretty big range in gold today. We had a $63 range high to low, 37.44 evens, new all-time high in gold futures, and we saw a pretty big sell-off. Let's take a look at the half an hour chart. Nice move last night in gold. Here's that first half an hour bar. We initially had price to the upside. Volume did follow initially. That follow through failed. So maybe this was a long that you take, right? We talk about this urgency trade. We're seeing the VWAP leave the first 30-minute range pretty early. This could be a trade that you take if you're looking for a 2-to-1 on that breakout. You probably get stopped out on this one, and that's okay. That's why we manage risk. Um, you got close to a 2-to-1, but it's 3 points. But VWAP started to flatten out and turn. And then, of course, we know Coach Paul. A lot of that volume comes in during the Shanghai Open, which is right here. Maybe we want to look at that as the real open for gold when the volume comes in.
I do.
I do too.
I
Uh,
second that.
yep. Anytime I'm on with Dakota for slow markets, I'm like, okay, we got a half an hour before gold really opens. We know when the volume is going to come in to a high probability. Now, can that change? It can, but we've seen this consistently now where that volume comes in for the Shanghai Open and it's just a much cleaner trade. So ignoring maybe some of the early price action and waiting for that can give you a pretty good trade. If we look at it that way and we frame the day from the open there, that's a beautiful short. Even a test and rejection of the range right at the low, uh, right back down to the 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart. All levels that we talk about often. When we were doing the opening call this morning, Coach Paul, I got to thank you all the time. I give you a shout out every time. I don't know if you watch the opening call, but I give you a shout out every time we do it because that 200 moving average has really become a part of my process here. And you know, we were taking the opening range trade in gold this morning. It did trigger a short, but in that we said, hey, I'd really like this trade to the upside if it was to break because we already satisfied the pullback back to that 200 moving average and it held. What are you seeing on this 30-minute?
Well, it was beautiful. We had nice trades on both sides. A lot of 2-to-1 trades of that. But when the cards were, it was time to ante up, and the cards were show your hand. Gold finished under that 200 moving average on the half hour. And we have this huge double wick candle on absolutely monstrous volume.
Yep.
Now,
40,000 contracts in 30 minutes.
40,000, and this isn't a roll. So this is selling. Under the 200, let's frame that candle out. And that, did it make it an all-time high there?
Yep. Yeah, all-time high on that candle, 37.44. And again, that 30-minute candle, 40,000 contracts traded in a 60-point range. And if you
Holy.
really looked at gold, it was, a lot of that time uh, spent in the middle of this candle, right? It was a real quick move either way. But let's take a look here. So, and really, man, that trade off the 200 moving average is such a beautiful trade. But here we go with the FOMC range. Again, assuming that our day starts here. That's a 3-minute candle there, Coach Paul.
And let's put VWAP on that and see. And then going back to VWAP, okay, price all time high, and look at the volume.
Yep.
Now, is that stops? To me, that has the DNA of stops. Like someone got short, or the entities got short. I don't like to use that word. Someone there was some shorts got stopped out, or this got nicked out. Buy.
Right.
Let's see what we get here. Now, this was something locals would do in the pit, and some people, oh, they're running stops, but that's their job. Let's see what's there. I
Right.
mean, the only time you don't like it is when you get stopped out.
Of course.
But there was a thing, and it's part of the market. Let's see what can happen if we make a new high. So, hey, 7 bid to make a new high, and nothing happens. 8 bid, nothing happens. And you stop bidding, and all of a sudden, volume comes in and sells it underneath. That's what happened there at all-time highs. That's what was that was huge volume.
Yeah, it was. And in this case, right, if we look at the from the perspective of volume, 13,000 contracts traded, and this candle closed higher than it opened. You kind of got to ask yourself, how sustainable is that volume to the upside if we're going to continue to push? That's why Coach Paul is saying, hey, attach a VWAP to that and see what happens. When VWAP stays inside of a range, regardless of how big that range is, it means that outside of the extreme of the range, there's no real volume trading there, right? So we priced out Coach Paul by $20. What we mean by priced out is
$28.
price advertised higher. And it looks small, but that is a $20 move outside of that range, but no volume went with it. And what that means is that at some point there may be a potential to fall back into this range. Now, how you trade that is up to you. It's a setup that we've talked about a bunch of times on here, where VWAP inside of a range means range bound market. That is just a huge range in gold. So a lot of risk there. Micro gold is a great contract to trade. Coach Paul, you said you did take a trade in gold. Tell us a little bit about what that one was.
Yeah, I bought that new high. I want what that's why I kind of and I did a big gold, and I was willing to risk 500.
Okay,
Excuse me, 250 to make
250.
500,
Okay,
and it hit my 500, and I stopped looking at it.
nice.
Now, I usually don't do, but it was all-time highs. It reminded me of these trades that we used to do in the pit.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna say this, looking back, and I probably wouldn't do it again. It was a little over leveraged, but there was a reason I took that. In that huge, you're at all-time highs. I made a new high, and that's why $20 range. I took $5 out of that.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Um,
Because you got that 5 points in maybe 45 seconds.
yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yep.
Now, going back, if you're in a $2,000, $50,000 combine, which is you can't be trading gold, big gold.
Right.
Just look at that. $20, it didn't look like anything. So let's look at it from what about the 15-second chart?
15-second chart. And we got a bunch of questions in the
Started it,
chat.
by the way.
We got a bunch of questions in the chat. Guys, understand we are going to get to all of them because I see some pretty good questions here. So we will definitely get to your questions. I mean, here's the J trade on a 15-second chart. Closed above that high. There's your 5 points. Oh man, wow.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I caught.
Great trade.
Um,
Great trade, Coach Paul.
Now that trade that's something you it doesn't make itself shown all the time. But when we talked yesterday, these were very violent reactions to these kind of numbers. Um, I preferred I think the best trade I made out of the trade I really liked was the Russell.
Okay.
That was well defined. This is my scalp. This is scalp.
Yep. And again, a clearly defined trade. Looking at this on the 30-second, we can see it a little clearer. This is the same trade that we had in the Nasdaq, right? Where we're talking about 30 seconds after the number. I don't have to try to guess what this is. I don't really have, what is your setup in this case to take this trade short? I don't know, right? And what I want to try to do, because sometimes traders are just like, oh man, everybody caught this big move or somebody caught this big move. If you can't repeat a process to catch this move, it's not the trade you want to take, because now I'm trying to figure out every single time I place a trade how to catch this trade. We had Braden on this morning, and we've had Braden on a couple of times. I asked him today because he's made you know 5 figures trading micros, and I asked him because if you watch his process, you watch how he trades. He starts off with a couple micros, builds a buffer, and he says, "Hey, if I'm reading the market really well, then I'll scale up as the day goes on." But I never go in with the expectation of I'm going to make X amount of dollars today. And that's really the approach you have to have, right?
Yeah.
There's a trader out there, and I hope it's no one that's watching at the buzzer right now, right? Maybe they're watching one of those other streams and somebody's telling them, hey, here's how you catch the high tick and get out of the low tick. By all means, you want to try that shit every day? Go ahead. But what we want to try to do is find a repeatable process that we can trade and then allow that repeatable process to pay us more than we expect. Because sometimes when you're good, you get lucky, coach. I'd much rather be good and get lucky than be lucky and try to continue to get lucky. Uh, because you know how do you repeat luck that you didn't plan for?
But yeah, because when we say the word lucky, we just, at least I do. I would say most people, what do we infer from that? Good luck. I'll go to the great blues song. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. So when we talk luck, he got lucky. Well, we just assume it's good luck.
Right.
If you're relying on luck, you can't. You're relying on good luck. Um, Luck doesn't is not a repeatable process. Some people win the lottery. Is it a skill? I think there's the huge data showing there's no skill there, at least for an individual. So when we go back to this, it's a process.
Yep. Uh,
Follow, but in that process, know what you're getting before you get in. Know how much you're willing, predefine that risk.
Someone may have a process to catch this short, right? I don't even want to say that somebody does have a process. Uh, Shout out to Rips, right? Everyone knows Rips. He has a process to catch these momentum trades all the time. But if there isn't one, then develop one, right? And that's all we're saying here. Really nice movement in gold. George had a question. Do you ever take the trade back to VWAP in this case on the extension? Yes. There are times where I will take this trade back to VWAP and honestly looking for more than VWAP, looking for 50% of the initial move. Uh, we can frame some of those out a little bit later, but here you are, George. When we have that extension here, there are times where I'll take this trade. Trying to remember the most recent one I took, but the way I would manage this is if I took this short up here, VWAP is going to be my initial management target, right? So once we hit it, there's no way that this trade, if I took a short up here, no way that this trade is going to turn into a loser. And if I'm in multiples, I'll probably take some off at VWAP and then look to see how how the market trades through the rest of it. But can be a pretty good trade. All right, let's get to some questions, Coach Paul. We got some questions. We got about 15
Sure.
minutes left here. Man, there are a decent amount. And if we don't get to your question, feel free to bring it back tomorrow. Genius Genie, we'll start at the top here. Could you kindly elaborate on account management? When do you revert to this? It would be beneficial. Thank you. Account management, I think, is something that happens all the time, Genius Genie. But in a day like today where I said, hey, I started to go into account management mode, I knew I had decent profit on the day. And I wasn't looking at the P&L specifically, right? I kind of had an idea of where I was at, but once I'm up pretty well on the day, right, I don't want to, I don't even want to get to the point where I am giving back a daily loss limit day, right? Let's say my daily loss limit is $1,000 and I'm up two times that daily loss limit. I don't want to give back a daily loss limit. I might be comfortable with giving back half of an average daily loss limit because, you know, there are going to be some days throughout the year that present bigger profits than others. And in that case, I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, well, hey, I made a bunch of money, so now I got all this free money to play with. No, you got to protect some of it. So if I clear my daily loss limit by a certain amount, I'm probably only ever giving back 50% of what that daily loss limit is, and just understanding that today would be a day to help build that account balance. How do you look at account management, coach?
On every trade,
There you
on
go.
every decision. It's based on, well, let's think of game theory as survival, right?
Hmm.
Number one thing is to survive. Survive what? Survive the risk of blowing out your account. You're trading your account balance. You're not
Yep.
trading the market. So it's that it, that's why when I didn't have that mindset or that plan, it wasn't the core. When we talk about luck, I could get really lucky, and g- on a big move, I make big money. Except for on a big move the other side, I had no risk management. I had no account management, and I just give it all back and then some. So the core of all great managers in in the business, every one of them is about risk management. Risk management of what? Your account balance. So it's sometime, and maybe once a month, you're going to hit a daily loss limit. It's part of the game. If your daily loss limit, what is that? The daily loss limit of your account balance.
Yep.
If it's 50%, it's not business-like, and you dug yourself a big hole, and now you have to make 100%. So, you hear me say 10 to 12%. I'm always once you hit that, it's not working today. It's not personal.
Feels like it
It
sometimes.
it does. Well, it's personal to your ego, 'cause, "Oh, I couldn't be that wrong. Shit. I I just gotta get it back." All those things, it triggers all those decisions. So, all decisions to me that come from in the tree, the root of that is account management. You can't trade without an account. So, when you go through a combine or in a prop firm, what are they expecting from you? To show that you can manage money, that you can manage the account. And if, they have a large database, they know who can manage it and not. If you just get that's if you get lucky, or are you good? Well, the bottom line of all of it is managing your account. So it's a great question. It should be involved in every decision you make in trading.
Great answer there, Coach Paul. Player is apparently writing a book, The Art of the Trade by Coach Paul, chapter one, page three. I'm curious of what's on page one and two. But the core of all great traders is risk management, trading the risk aligned with the account. Good notes there from player. All right, we got another question here. Billy asks, do you think there are enough retail players to pump the Russell versus the ES and the NASDAQ, or enough institutions know that there is some sort of euphoria to lead them up? There are enough getting into a hypothetical zone a little. What I do know is that the Russell made new highs of the year right now. So whether it's retail, whether it's institutions, somebody's buying this thing. right now, and we'll see if that buying sustains. How do you see that, Coach
Yeah,
Paul?
I love that question. It's a
Yeah.
great question, Billy. Here, and now let's just put on volume. What do most people trade coming into this in retail?
What do most people trade?
Yeah,
Uh,
retail coming in. What are most of the traders at top
s-
step or prop firms trading? What's number one by far?
Nasdaq,
Nasdaq. What's number two?
S&P,
Number three.
gold,
Gold. Number four.
probably crude.
Number 15,
I,
maybe
I, I,
20.
if you were gonna go to number 5, I was gonna say micro Nasdaq. Uh,
Yeah. No, Russell.
yeah, the Russell's halfway down that list for sure.
So now, can we make a reasonable assumption that it reflects that in the cash market too?
Yes.
So there really is very little retail trading in the Russell. And so it is a commercial contract. You know, what I found interesting is that in front of this FOMC meeting, they went to the Russell. They're buying the Russell and selling the Nasdaq. Now, what did the Nasdaq break because there was a lot of retail trade in there? Possibly. But unless I brought it up, most people wouldn't have, I did until I started this show, I really didn't watch the Russell.
Yeah, yeah, and you've been probably the reason I'm looking at it, right, for the most part, right? We're talking about that catch up trade. We're seeing it continue to do that. But yeah, you're right, Coach. Well, it's just not at the front of anyone's mind, um, because you probably don't see a whole lot of traders trading it. But that does not mean it doesn't move. Again, the Russell had high to low today a 3% move, and is that an anomaly because it's FOMC day? Maybe, but we've seen it consistently be a percentage leader in the equities this year.
Yeah. So, it's a great question. So, with that said, yeah, it. The Russell is an institutional trade compared to Nasdaq or S&P. Plus, it's 2,000 stocks. It's not. Its underlying is not going to be affected by retail trade like Nasdaq is. We're talking to how many people trade the Nasdaq futures, let alone how many people trade Tesla, Nvidia, Apple.
Right.
That's a lot of retail.
Yep.
So it's going to be a little more volatile, especially around the fringes. So hope I answered that for you.
I think you did. Great market to trade over there in the Russell. Uh, Bruno says page 1 of Coach Paul's book says shit like a bird and eat like an elephant. I like that. Um, all right. Balaji has a question. Oh, we do need to get to crude oil also. So let's do quick rapid fire through these questions. Get to crude oil. You have always suggested to pick a side with your trade. With gold today, would you suggest to not pick a side and just trade whatever the trade presents? That's for Coach Jay and Coach Paul. So for me, Balaji, I will probably um, make a case for trading both sides of the market a little bit more than Coach Paul. So I'm curious on your answer today, Coach Paul. Uh, if you're only taking one side of the market, and in this case, your trade aligned with your uh, suggestion here.
Well, well, I would that advice for trading one side is it's number one if you're just beginning to trade or if you're struggling. And I would ask this to the audience: the days that your biggest losing days, where they come Did they come from trading both sides of the market or one side of the
Flopping around
market?
like a fish out of
It's
water.
the most it's the most I did it. I was really good at it. I call it chasing profits.
Yep.
Just you're there, you are yeah, like a fish out of water. It's horrible. Because what leads to that is you don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, you can it's easier to follow a prepared trading plan. It's easier to control your and manage your account
Yep.
because when you get bopped, and especially short term, and you're just trading a price, what you end up what you end up doing a large percent of the time is just trying to be right. Okay, I bought it. First time I bought it, it was like today. Think of this: I bought it early, then I sold it, and then I kept selling it, and then it ripped in front. So I bought it, and then it would rip back down. When you have big ranges like that, you're done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 2, 3
You're
trades.
done.
You're that's it.
So part of that reason is if you're new, and when I say new, at first you're just developing your trading, and you have a plan, execute it on one side, get good at that. Then you get some experience. You you might see something like a J trade or something else, and like get out of a trade, or if you're looking to buy it and you see that there's failed selling, okay, I can take that and be selective. But to build your skill, it's a really good idea just to look at one side.
Go. Good stuff there, Coach Paul. We got one more. Did we answer this one? Uh, okay, we got a volume profile question here. We may save that one for tomorrow. If that's God First Financial. Any advice for referencing previous or current volume profiles to inform a bias? What I am going to say is, and Coach Paul, I know you use volume profile as well. I don't use it as much. Join Coach Ray and Coach Vince's classes. Coach Ray only ever trades off a volume profile. That is like the the anchor of his trading strategy. Anything you want to say about volume profile today, Coach Paul? We
Yeah,
could,
let's do it in gold. Bring up the
or
half
you
hour.
want to do it in Crude since we haven't gone over Crude yet.
Yeah, let's do it in crew.
All right, cool. Because Crude was a
Now,
pretty nice trade today, not affected by the Fed rates
let
as much as everything else. Go ahead.
let's not use today's. Let's go to yesterday's and go for the full day.
All right, we're going extended hours, extended time now. This is where we normally end, but that's okay. Sometimes we extend it. We'll go right into Coach Hoop. We'll send you guys to Coach Hoop in about 15 minutes here. So here is our volume profile. Let me make sure these are default settings because sometimes I do change. Okay. All right, here's volume profile from yesterday.
So if yesterday, see where that volume, the point of control is way high. That red line. Now, but looking at it today, we had this big rally up. We have a volume point of control, which is near the high of day. Now, look what happens when volume comes in today. You, if we just, so what is the volume doing against yesterday's volume? It's
Failing to
being
go higher.
sold.
Yep.
And if we attach a VWAP to that level, now, how much time do we spend below it or above it? So you could try and buy it. There's not, and like I said, taking one side. Okay, if I maybe bought that early and took a loss, just using that as a reference. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah. And some of the targets that, traders are looking at are value areas, which are the shaded area, which is this blue and orange. right? That is value area low. Also, you can use the top step levels indicator. Let me refresh, 'cause sometimes you need to refresh for those to work. Come on, there we go. All right. Let me just use the volume profile levels. So anything value area high, that's volume profile. Point of control, that's volume profile. Settlement we can take off. Value low. All right. So all of these lines now are our volume profile. So even if you don't want to draw it on there, right, and you'll hear Hogan and I talk about these during the opening call. This is why, referencing those top step daily levels. If I look at this just this way, and yeah, you could put the other levels on, you can put settlement on there, right? If you wanted to, settlement and point of control were pretty much the exact same price yesterday. So that price meant something to somebody. Of course, you probably want to leave Hogue's weekly kickoff levels. That one came into play today. Look near the low of the session today. So volume profile is a great tool to use.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
just like anything else, is it going to, make you a profitable trader? It's not. It's about your interpretation of the information that you get from it, and then assessing how the market is responding around those levels. But I really do love that, Coach Paul. We have volume, point of control from the prior day. What is volume in VWAP saying as the session builds? Volume is trading lower. Price is trading
Yeah,
lower.
that's a great tool. I don't we can discuss it more,
Yep.
but it's a distribution of volume, and it's important to know where most of the volume came. It's a great tool, and when the market profile was first invented by Peter Stottlemyre, he was really just he looked at the buying on the buy brokers in the pit versus the selling was and price related with an opening range. Really, there was no way to do it volume because it was you wouldn't know the volume until much later, maybe the next day.
Right.
So as it distributes, where is the most volume taking place? Is that where does that relate to is the opening and yesterday's volume. It's good. It's great reference points. So going into tomorrow, if we take today's and we're inside yesterday's range, price range. And where's today? So today's a little lower. We'll see. Use that as a reference to get an idea of we're below it or we're below it. Now that's one day. Watch that level.
Below value here, point and control all the way up at 64.28. You can watch market response to there as the volume continues to come in. Yeah, it is a great tool. It is a great tool. Um, I probably, as a volume trader, I probably should use it more than what I do. Uh, but it just it hurts my eyes. I'm gonna be honest. So I probably should just use the top step levels because it's a little easier on the eyes. Just seeing that much on the charts, it drives me crazy. So maybe I'm making an excuse. All right.
You can also dull it out.
That's That's ideally what I do with it, just keep it in the background somewhere.
And remember that point of control moves depending on volume. But yesterday's doesn't. So yeah, I start to compare where it is versus the day before. That's the way to start looking at it, and you can see how it builds during the day, and maybe you'll find something that we have not seen. And please share.
Psalm 91 here. I appreciate learning from Coach Jay and Paul. They helped me achieve a lot this year, and today is completely on me. Thanks for the show and going over the importance of risk management coaches. Psalm 91, if you're saying today was completely on you, sounds like you took some losses. Um, and I think that might be something that you learned as well, hopefully here or just through your own experience. That I love to hear that you're taking accountability for what happened with your account, right? That means that there's potential for you to continue moving forward because you understand what your involvement in that was. I talked about, I don't know who that was. It was definitely somebody who watches, but they tagged me on Twitter and saying, I mentioned this yesterday, but I'm supposed to take credit for somebody, take accountability for somebody logging into my account and hacking it. Like my 13 years of trading, that has never happened to me once. But big losses have happened to me, and every single one of those was at the expense of my own actions. So, great awareness, Psalm 91. You're going to have days like that in your trading journey, ideally less than more of those. But the awareness that it is your responsibility to make changes is a huge step. So, really great to hear that. Also, Dante Sweeney, got to give a shout out to Dante with 600 plus people watching and all the info you guys give, knowledge and experience. Only 60 with likes, mind blowing. Keep your progress, coaches. You guys do more than people actually know. Messages like that keep us going here. And sometimes, the reminder of hitting that like button. I don't hit the like button until somebody reminds me on the daytime show either. So whether you hit it or not, you should hit it. But we appreciate you all being here. Hopefully, the information that we're sharing with you is helping you with your trading journey. It's ultimately why we do this every day. Coach Paul, anything you got to share with our traders before we go?
Yeah, we had a lot today. Hope some people gain something from that. But once again, I just want to go back to the question of account management.
Yeah,
Everything you do as a trader is tied to that. It's your bankroll. And once you realize that, or once you start getting into that perspective, you can really and stop gambling and start trading. And that's all I have for today.
awesome stuff, Coach Paul. Here you go for Khadijah, real quick. Look at the bonds. Uh, nice rejection up at those highs. That looks pretty. We'll see.
Yeah.
Frame out that candle. See how the market responds around this range. That's a 30-year. Frame that out. But Coach Hoop is coming up. We don't want to run into Coach Hoop's time here. He has a class in Discord coming up in about 5 minutes or so. And then we have Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Coach Dakota with Slow Markets tonight at 7:30. I will be joining him probably a little late today. But Coach Dakota with Slow Markets, Aaron with the London Open, then Deanna with the Euro Trade as well tomorrow morning. A ton of content for you. We're pretty close to 24/7 here at TopstepTV. I will see everyone back for slow markets, and if not, the opening call tomorrow. I think I'm on fast markets tomorrow too, running a marathon. Uh, but we appreciate you all being here. Thanks again, Coach Paul. Great stuff. Bruno, as always, thank you for helping us run this segment. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
All right. Bye.